close air support, helicopter Cobra support or fixed wing support as this Marine unit that you're with has moved into Iraq?
Not in the area that we're operating in, Dan, and I think it, again, as the General spoke to, the fact that we're meeting no resistance. But if there were to be any kind of resistance, the column that we're in would break off into a line. The forward air controller would get on the radio back with the aviation unit, the Marines aviation unit, and he would call in Cobra airstrikes and F-18 strikes, and they would be here in a matter of seconds or minutes, if not seconds. They could call in close air support very, very quickly. But again, because there has been no resistance thus far, there has been no reason to call it in. One thing we did hear, though, was that there may be some Iraqi units moving into our area and trying to escape a push from the 3rd Infantry Division. But so far, we haven't encountered any of those people, any of those units. We're hopeful that we won't. These fighting forces don't want to have to engage the enemy. They would rather just take control of them when enemy prisoners of war give themselves up. But they're certainly prepared to call in whatever firepower they need should they encounter any enemy forces.
John Roberts reporting live from inside Iraq with the U.S. Marine Force, a reconnaissance force which has been described as the tip of the spear, now piercing into Iraq. At the same time, similar elements, we think there's similar elements, we know some elements of the U.S. Army's 3rd Infantry Division are also operating inside Iraq, as are some British ground forces. These are not to be confused with special operations and special forces who've been in Iraq for some days, if not indeed weeks and months, doing sabotage, picking out targets, trying to arrange for surrender of some forces and that kind of work. This is something different. Now, Washington keeps emphasizing that the main aerial bombardment campaign, the shock and awe campaign from the air, has not yet started, although there was a second attack on Baghdad today, which was bigger than the attack last night. Still, Washington says this is not the big one. Nor, says Washington, is what you're seeing on the ground, what you're hearing on the ground with units such as John Roberts reporting live from before, that's not the main ground invasion getting started yet. When those two are to start, the big overpowering aerial campaign and what is hoped to be a big overpowering ground force, which will race in a matter of days to at least the outskirts of Baghdad, that's the hope, that has not been launched either. We go now to Mark Strassman, CBS News correspondent with the 101st Airborne in northern Kuwait. Mark, is there any sign that they're about to move?
No sign they're about to move, Dan. The update here is that the all clear has just sounded on yet another Scud alert here. It is now 12:40 in the morning in the Kuwaiti desert. It was just after midnight when the 5th Scud alert of the last 15 hours went off here at Camp Pennsylvania, which is the home of the 1st Brigade of the 101st Airborne Division. And for roughly 20 minutes or so, you had soldiers jammed, 20 or 30 perhaps, jammed underneath the concrete bunkers that dot this camp. They were wearing their gas masks, which is mandatory during these alerts, simply because they don't know what is coming in, essentially, on potential Iraqi missiles. And so for 20 minutes, this camp was deathly silent. The only thing you could hear was the sound of some generator noise here powering the different camp facilities. But then the alarm, the all-clear alarm also went off. I want to emphasize, Dan, these are not drills. So far today, as I say, we've had 5 of these. And the first 4 today all involve actual incoming enemy missiles or some sort of threat. The Kuwaiti officials say that there were 6 missiles coming in earlier today. Folks connected with the 1st Brigade said that there had been 5 missiles that had come in. But either way, these are not drills. These are genuine exercises in care, simply because they have received some sort of intelligence that missiles have been on their way. So again, Dan, all clear has sounded here in the Kuwaiti desert.
Mark Strassman reporting live from the 101st Airborne, which is poised to move. In the Army phrase of the week, it is locked and cocked, but has not yet moved. Dateline, Washington. In an unusual diplomatic move, the Bush administration called today for the expulsion of Israeli diplomats by all countries that recognize and deal with the government in Baghdad. The State Department says the diplomats represented, and I quote, a corrupt and ruthless regime, and cited Iraq's refusal to disarm. Now, also today, the State Department temporarily closed embassies and consulates in about 15 countries. This includes, I believe, the embassy in Paris, France. The decision was based on a judgment of the security situation in those countries by senior American diplomats there. For example, in Paris, an estimated 20,000 French people and others were demonstrating outside the U.S. Embassy, so just as a matter of prudence, the embassy has been temporarily closed, is our report. Now, I'm told that I said and made a big mistake, and this is important. In this unusual diplomatic move, it's the Iraqi diplomats, of course, who are asked to be expelled, and I hope you'll forgive me and understand if I said something else, that the Bush administration is calling for the expulsion of all Iraqi diplomats in all countries that recognize and deal with the government in Baghdad. John Blackstone is in San Francisco. We're going to turn now to some domestic reaction, because we should not forget, we cannot forget that here at home in the United States, we're under an orange terrorist alert. That's the second highest, right behind red. Recognize that we're vulnerable to attack and may well be a target of terrorist attack. People in the country who are dismayed, to say the least, about the start of this war. So John Blackstone has been taking reaction in San Francisco. John?
Well, for San Francisco, demonstrators early this morning, the protesters pledged that when the war began, business as usual would not go ahead here, and to a certain extent it has not been business as usual.